the president-elect of the largest CSI chapter in the country, Chicago. Yeah, I'll let you introduce the rest of yourself and talk a little bit about yourself and what you do, but you use this tool on a regular basis, and you're a great person to do this, so thank you very much for being here.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone, and thanks for having me. I'm excited about this presentation for a few reasons, but I'm Brad Schwab. I'm with the Schwab Group. We're an independent local manufacturers rep in Chicago. We've actually been in business for 6 years, so this is our 6th year. 3 Schwabs make the group: my dad, myself, and my brother. Prior to that, though, and why this ties in and why Thad knew this and thought this would be good is prior to that, I worked for a global advertising agency for 18, 19 years and focused predominantly on CRM and databases and using these types of tools. And so when we got into this business as an independent manufacturer's rep, I quickly gravitated and tried to figure out, okay, what are these tools that we have out there and what can we use and how do they work? And so Thad thought I could help with that. So I'll start taking us through here. Really the 4 things I want to go through today. I'm a firm believer in that digital tools, they're great, but if you don't have a strategy for how you're going to use them and go in to use them, you're just going to be very confused. They're not, they're not things you just hit buttons and they kick out and it solves your life as a product rep. So first thing I want to talk about today, we'll go through, is kind of talk about the changing role of a modern sales team. And we've seen that a lot in our company, with my dad having the experience he has and then us coming in, even he's telling us it's just so much different. It's just so much different than when I was your age. And so talk a little bit about that. We're going to go through the construction lead services that are available, and we'll talk a little bit about who they are, what they do, what some of the differences are, how they even do it, how they bring the information together. Then what I think is important are some tips and tricks to maximize the effectiveness of using them, right? So you're not just like, oh my God, I'm in the sea of databases and I don't know what to do with them. And then we'll talk, really what I use these tools mostly for is to have actionable ways to build relationships with my customers and to help my customers do better at their job, which is the ultimate goal, really, of what we're trying to do here. So we'll touch a little bit on the changing role of what I'm calling the modern sales team. A lot of this is digitally driven, right? So again, my marketing background, when all the digital hit, the internet hit in the 90s, right, it really started changing the way that we were doing business, because all of a sudden our customers had way more ways to get information, right? They had way more ways to access, to us. But then companies on the other end, companies had way more ways to track us, way more ways to get information, way more ways to understand our behavior, and what we were buying, what we were doing. So really this digital game has brought on more information, way more connections. Today I literally I get customers now message me through LinkedIn with questions, because that's the way they like to work and that's the way they see me. And either they don't remember my card, but they know I'm on LinkedIn. So I'm now getting requests for quotes, for information coming through that. So we've just got a lot of different things that as salespeople that we're dealing with now that we didn't have to. This is a big one. I think push to be more efficient. I don't know about you guys, but everyone thinks because we've got these things now all of a sudden, like, you've got all the tools, you should just be so much more efficient, right? And in theory, that is true. But if you don't understand how to use the tools, which does take time to do, it's tough to get them to start helping you be efficient. Like I said, we're tracking everything, but at the end of the day, what all this digital means and is pushing us to be is relevancy is key, right? If we're going to go to talk to a customer, we need to be relevant, right? It's no longer can you just go and say, I'm here to tell you about a product. So it's really changing the way we all work. it's changing the sales arena. In theory, they're saying we don't need to go, like my dad said, I used to go and door to door to the different companies, and that's how I would find out, okay, what do you sell, what do you do, what are, some of the products you could use. We don't really need to do that now. We can go to websites. We're digitally connected to our customers. So again, emails, this thing, right? You got some customers probably texting you, you got some customers emailing you, you got some customers, in my case, on social media, reaching out to me. So we've even got these bid tools now. You've seen a lot of those bid tools, right, where you get an alert that says, hey, this job's here, submit your questions and your bid through this. So we just have, as salespeople, we just have so many more ways of connecting with people, and it can get pretty frustrating. With all the ways of connecting digitally, it's getting harder and harder to contact people in person, right? Like people are just like, oh, I don't know, I read about that, or I'll research that. You don't have to. So it's getting difficult because we're getting busier too, right? Remember, this is supposed to be simplifying, right? But it's also, people are, you can do more, you can do more. So we're getting really busy, and it's getting hard to get in front of people. Again, I talked about it's easier to keep track of people though. So now we're, our managers and stuff are like, we haven't got to that guy yet. But the funniest part about it is we can track people easier. But in our busy world these days, people are changing jobs all the time, right? So it's harder. It's like, I just put him in the database, and then I called there next week, and he's not there, right? So it's getting harder to keep up with them. It's just not really, it's tough being a salesperson, product rep. And but again, ending where before relevancy was key, again, because of all of this information, it's pushing us as sales reps to become much more focused and really have a strategy of what we're doing. By the way, LinkedIn, I've learned, I try to link in with all my customers because that's the only way I know that they switched jobs and where they went. All of this has changed the skill set that we all have to have, right? We have to be much more consultative, and we have to start to really show value. Like, we need to be the value beyond the data sheet, right? Beyond just, so we have to be experts, right? Because people expect us to be an expert on our products, not just our products, but our competitors' products, and all of that stuff, right? And we have access. Everyone assumes, we're online being curious, right? We're being curious and learning all of this online so that we can be an expert. Our emotional intelligence has to elevate, and what I mean by that is, sales, we're all social, right? I mean, most people in sales, that's kind of how we got there, right? Because we're very social people. But this social is different. This is like listen, right? We need to really start to listen and understand our customers' needs and figure out how our products fit in versus, again, that traditionally was just you go in and do an introduction. My dad would say, I would go in, I'd tell them about the product. Well, other people I go in with, I start to tell about the product. They're like, yep, I read about your product. I know a lot about it, but I don't know how it fits in this application, or I don't know how it fits. So just the emotional intelligence has to be elevated. Confidence. I think a lot of salespeople are confident, but not confident from an ego perspective, like I'm going to get this done because I always have. It's confidence from like facts and knowledge and that sort of thing, that you're confident and you can help this customer. Teamwork. As a salesperson now, there's no longer just you're off on your own. We've got all these tools and all these people and collaboration we're working with, and so that's something as reps, we really have to start to get more focused on teamwork. And the last thing I think is very key is you have to kind of start thinking about having a knack for what I call narrative and storytelling. So there's so much data and there's so much facts out there, but not a lot of people can actually take all those facts and that information and actually put it into an actionable story that can help someone. So as a salesperson, if you kind of get that knowledge and you have, you were curious enough to look at your customer before you went in, right? You looked on the website, you saw what they bought, you saw what they billed and all that sort of thing. You can then kind of shape your narrative before you go in. And I think that's what's pretty much expected of us as salespeople moving forward. The reason I bring all this up is because all of this up front is why these tools can be very helpful to us. But it's not just to find one job, but these tools have so much information that it can really educate you so you can be an expert. You can have a story before you go in to the architect's office or the contractor or whoever you're going into. Because these lead service tools, who here works in one of the either Dodge or Construct Connect? Okay, so everybody's pretty familiar with them, which is good. But these tools have so much information in them, and we'll go through what they are. But the idea really is to be thinking about what am I doing going into this tool, and what is the strategy that I'm doing. But first, we'll talk about them. We're going to focus on the two. I think a lot of you probably remember that there were a lot more, but just over time they have, the conglomerates have bought others up and have brought them all under. Really, these two umbrellas are the two brands that I'm seeing. But anyone here Dodge user? Okay, how about Construct Connect or C&D here? Okay, so a little bit of half the room. Anyone here have a strong opinion on which one's better than the other?
I use both, and they both have their strengths and weaknesses. So I think the plan searching is better on Construct Connect.
Okay. Yep.
But I think some of the information on Dodge is better. So getting the detail of the project, Construct Connect Dodge is more.
Yep. No, and I would agree with, and for you that didn't hear, he was saying that he felt like in certain aspects, Dodge was better with some of the information maybe, but Construct maybe had a better user interface and certain things, some searching and that sort of thing. And you will find
Construct Connect is more timely information. Project information is in their center. We used Dodge for like a couple of years.
Okay.
And we switched over to Construct Connect, and that's what I've seen is a marked increase in that. So the ability to find projects faster
and the timeliness of them.
And then the downstream analytics, who else is all connected to the project?
Is better on Construct. Okay. So what I was going to tell you today, which is in my assessment, and we use Construct Connect, and I'll be honest, we use it as our company. That's who we met first, and that's who we've been using. So I don't want to, that's how we got there. But I know a lot of my manufacturers we rep use Dodge, and kind of the same things people are saying here. Like my manufacturer will send me a lead, and then I'll go into Construct to look for that same lead, and it's not there, or vice versa. So we're going to talk a little bit about, though, what both of these tools offer for those. I think everyone uses it, but I'll quickly touch on these. So obviously these are online interfaces, and we're paying for access to this data. You can use this data ultimately to build a better strategy, and we're going to focus mostly on the product search aspects of these tools, but these tools have, they can help as manufacturers, they can help you with your market share and all kinds of different information, like how many times your products are being spec'd and that sort of thing. They're going to help you with intelligent leads. They both can integrate, their data into, if you have a CRM system, they can help with the back end portion. Track performance of individuals on sales teams. So I know in some cases where you have a group, if you're managing people, you can see kind of what projects they're working on, which projects they're tracking and that sort of thing, which is really a good thing. And then the mobile accessibility as well. So they're both, you can use it on your phone. to me, where they start to differ are really how they get their information. So I'm not sure how fully aware everyone is of how they're doing that, but really there's three things that they're doing. They're both of them. They're going out to public sources, right, online, newspapers, no, however they can find information in public realms, right? But they're also using partners. So they are, if you go in, they are related to certain associations, AIA, General Contractor Association, one of them is where they're using them to get information to populate for their users. Because to them, their business is to give you information in a usable way, right? So they're using public sources, partners, but then they also have people calling, right? They're calling architectural firms, they're calling GCs, and they're getting all of that product information. So that's why you'll see there is going to be different information, right? So Dodge will have one, Construct won't. That's why the amount of information in the project, and you can find the same project in both, and you'll be like, why are they not the same? And it's because how they're actually pulling the information together is the difference. So, I mean, I would not say either of them is perfect, but again, it's data that would be a lot harder for you to find. A lot of it would be a lot harder for you to find versus using these tools. So I figured we'd go through kind of the information. To me, there's three ways that we use this. We use this if we're looking for information on a project, if we're looking for information on a customer, you know, understanding like, okay, what jobs does this architect do, or that sort of thing, or we're looking specifically for product information. So again, depends on your strategy. So from a project information source, this is a project that's happening in Illinois that we are hunting down, but it's a junior high, right? So they're going to tell you the project name, but they're also going to tell you, you know, the address of it. They're going to tell you key things like, you know, the value of the project. So for those of you, maybe when you're in this thing, you're like, it's overwhelming. I mean, maybe one of your strategic things is I only want to look at projects at a certain value amount, right? To help like minimize your search terms. The stage, we use the stage of the project all the time, right? So if it's in design and you're like, okay, I still have a chance of getting in there up front. If it's bidding and you're in the spec, you know, we immediately go, okay, it's bidding. We need to find those contractors and make sure that we're getting them the numbers, and it gives you your bid date. So this information we use all the time, and depending on our strategy for that product line, we'll filter, you know, differently based on this information. We'll give you a full product description. So again, this will help you when you're thinking, you know, do I have time? Is this a project that I didn't have enough time to really chase down? And sometimes in this description, that's going to help you understand what's going on with the project. This is another key one we use all the time from project information. So project events and details. So when the pre-bid meeting is, you know, when the job's going to start, the bid date, and then some of these additional information. And just like they were saying, look, in this one, they don't have much, so they couldn't really hunt down too much information on that. But again, you can really start to see those dates can really help you manage your time and manage your effort. Another key thing with the project is you can find out, okay, who are the design teams? So sometimes what we'll do is we'll see a project and we're like, oh, it's too late, right? Like you just in your head, you're like, for us to fight up that battle is going to just be too much. We'll immediately go here at least and say, okay, well, who are the players? Because we know we want to be involved in a project like this. So now this starts to help you with your prospect list, you know, like maybe, okay, you know, like BLDD Architects in Decatur. You know, okay, well, thankfully I do know them, but if I didn't, I'd say these are people I need to make sure I get to know because they're doing a project with, you know, my product. Or the owner. I mean, the owner's key too for some of your lines, you know, depending on the product line. You know, you might want to have relationships with owners, but it's hard to find owners, right? It's hard to find out who they are. This is a place that could help you with this. And we use this buyer activity report that tells us who's looking at the job. So it will tell you even like other like, oh, this contractor at least viewed the job, right? He's looking at it. So, okay, that he could be interested. That would be a person that I would want to say, hey, by the way, I'm inspecting this project. Just want to let you know. You don't have to tell him you necessarily saw him in here, but you can now, again, be more relevant saying, hey, this project's here, we're spec'ing it. I'm not sure if you're bidding this project, but if you are, and a lot of times they write back, well, yes, we are, you know. So it's just a way that we're using this material, get it to be relevant, to stay relevant, not just say, I'm the rep of this, you know, can I help you? Okay. And then there's a notes and history, which, to be honest, we don't use that much and oftentimes isn't populated that well. A lot of people aren't writing personal notes, you know, on here, but it's there and it's something to look at that could give you some information on that project. So that, you know, if you're looking at it from a project perspective, all that data is available to you through these tools that you can use. But there's a lot of times where we just want to know more about a company. We want to know, and I have AECOM up here, and the reason I have them up here is when I first got into this business, you know, you ask people, well, who should I know, or, you know, who are, and AECOM. So I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about these people, you know. So if you go in and just look their company up in these tools, I mean, you can start to see here very quickly, okay, well, obviously this is the Chicago office, but right now I see, now again, this information, remember, has to be they found it, and a lot of this is going to be public. Doesn't mean everything about them, but it gives you, so, okay, well, they've got 2 planning projects right now worth $719 million. Post-bid projects right now in here are 120. So it kind of starts to give you a quantitative thing to say, okay, how big are these guys, and give you some information. Then you go deeper and you start to see what those planning projects are, and it also starts to tell you the post-bid projects. So that can start to kind of help you understand, okay, well, what kind of work are they doing? You know, like, and if you just by looking at the projects they're doing, okay, I know everyone's telling me AECOM, but maybe my product won't, you know, you look, maybe it's just not a fit for, you know, what I'm doing. So then the one we use daily is the search by search functions, which and mostly what we do is we search by product. So I just used one of the products that we represent, which is Hunter XCI. So here you can see that you can put different phrases up here that you can actually search. And so we built a search that we just use multiple different terms, right? Because we also know through reading a lot of specs that it'd be great if everyone used the exact word you told them to, but they're using all kinds of different things. And so we're just putting in different things in quotes just to pull up things. And so once you set this up right here, and the other tool has it just in a different place, but you can just go down every time and click that search, right? And so it pulls up the jobs that you could be you're expecting. And in this case, we are spec'd in the Athens Junior High, Junior Senior High School. And again, gives you that information. And the nice thing about it is these tools will take you right down to the spec, right? Like where it is in the spec, which is very helpful. Plus what we'll do here, and I'll get to it later, like I'll just download that page immediately, get that over to our distributors, that we work with and say, hey, here's a job, respect, and you should be looking for it. So that kind of gives you the idea of the different data that's available in these tools. So it is a lot of data, and that's why I just keep saying, think about, what your strategy or what you're looking for. So I wanted to talk a little bit about tips and tricks to maximize the effectiveness of this tool. So you're going to hear this a lot, but it's have a focused strategy and have an objective before you go on the tool. And don't try to conquer the world in a day. Just like pick a few things that you think you can, get some value out of, so that you're not in the tool just going, this is a big pain. So one way you can look at it, right, is one strategy could be, okay, this year I want to get to these 10 companies, right? I at least want to, I want to try, and I want to, get in there and meet them and figure out the players. Well, in that case, you can use the tool and you can say, okay, I want to do companies. I want to figure out this company, and I want to search by type. Maybe there's a type of company that you're looking for, or the size, like how big they do jobs. Some people, and when we started out as a rep, we were just starting out. Some of our lines, like I wasn't going after the 80 pounds, and I just needed to get some, I just needed to get some sales and get some things going. Or capabilities, maybe you're looking for a design build company versus just an architectural engineering firm, or you're looking for a consultant, those types of things. And then location, obviously. Maybe there's a specific location, but if you can kind of identify that stuff outside of the tool, then when you go into the tool, now you're going into the tool with an intention of like what you're trying to find. You can do the same thing with projects, right? So what type of project are you looking for? Is it, mixed use? Is it, are you looking for food, a food processor, or, that sort of thing? You might find that certain of your products work best in those situations. And so you can look at it again through the same filter. Or maybe you're just looking for products, right? You're like, maybe you're chasing your competitor, right? You're like, I want to find out I want to find out what jobs my competitors are in, because maybe that'll help me focus, like where I need to go. So you can search by, there's no shame in searching your competitor and finding out, where they are and who's specifying them. Or maybe it's a certain spec section. This whole situation is what has changed with digital. I just think that don't think the tool is just going to kick out what you need. You still need to have some form of a strategy.
A couple different tricks. You talked about searching your competitor. We have a relatively new product we came out with. We're new to the space. We know who our competitors are. I search the competition specs on a regular basis because that's typically low-hanging fruit, where I can go out and call the architect and say, I'm not sure that you were aware of the fact that we had this product in the space, and we meet all the same ASTMs, we have the same reference standards, we're a major player in the marketplace. Would you be willing to add us? What do I need to do to get you added?
That's
so, and that's, I have a rather large territory, and you can do that with a couple firms, and you can get in several specs rather quickly if you're just aware of what that difference is.
And because you also know they're using
someone else has educated them, someone else has given them
Yes.
the technology, someone else has sold their client on that sort of an issue.
Yeah.
We're in the space now, we're new to it, just making them aware, and that actually helps them as well.
Yeah, definitely. One thing it just triggered for us as an independent rep, we're kind of always keeping our eye out, for up and coming products, we will go in and actually use this to try to find products that are in specs that no one's heard of very often, that maybe they don't have representation or they're small, they're smaller and that they're growing, but you're seeing them in specs of, usually we're searching the customers, we have relationship specs to kind of see what other things that they're expecting. So for those that are independent reps, that could be a tool you can use it for as well. So we were talking about setting up searches based on objectives. So, and like you said, you're using the saved searches. I mean, when you find a search that works, because it took us a while to find searches that actually worked. It was very frustrating when you wrote in just the product name and nothing came up, and then you wrote some little offshoot of your product name and all this stuff comes up. But once you play around with it, you get it, make sure you're saving it. And continue to evolve your search criteria. So just because you have one that's working, don't forget that maybe, every, whatever your time period, every 3 to 6 months, you kind of look at your searches and say, maybe there's a new word I need to add or something that has come up in the industry that triggers that. And like I said, set up searches for competitors, because I think we've probably all experience both ways, one where you're in the spec and your competitors chasing you on the back end, or vice versa. So don't be afraid to keep an eye on your competitor. So track projects and companies. So this, I would just say, do that to just stay focused. Like don't, when we first started, I started tracking everybody. And I didn't want to look at it anymore. I had to find these signals. Pick like 15 that are manageable that you can actually deal with. And it saves on follow-up time, and it tracks progress. So just something to and this is something that I tell people all the time: utilize the support teams of either your company or yourself, whoever is you're paying money for this. And they all have support people to help you. So if you're having a hard time with the search or you don't know how to set up a search, you have an actual, inside person that will help you at those companies. And don't be afraid to call them up. And in fact, sometimes they will set the searches up for you in the beginning just to get you going. But I guess what we've learned is that we're paying for it. You should access it and make sure you're utilizing it. And I mean, they're the expert in the tool. So there's times they've told us, well, did you know you could do this? And we're like, no, we didn't know we could do that. So just make sure, plus, these tools are constantly kicking out new functionality. It's really hard to keep up with all the new things that they're doing. So sometimes just by reaching out to the support team that can help you. Okay, so I just want to give some examples of some actionable ways that we've used the tool to help build relationships with our customers. So I'll talk about our subcontractors. So they'll say, I'd love to help Brad. It's just we're not seeing the demand, and no one's asking for the product, and I'm not going to just go switch your product without. I've never installed it. I don't know. I'm just not going to. I'm not going to put that effort. And I don't necessarily blame you. So we have to provide them leads. We have to say, okay, here's this job. We're in the spec. Help us out. Or here's the job, and it's not in the spec, but we're going to help you do the substitution, and we'll help you through it. But these tools can help you with that data. It helps you connect them to new GCs, right? So you say, hey, I got this project, I'm spec'd. Hey, will you do it? And oh, and by the way, these are the GCs bidding on it that you don't have a relationship with. And yes, sometimes they'll say, yeah, we don't have one with them because we don't want to. But a lot of times we're finding that they're happy to have a new GC to bid and work with. And providing them potential bidders and quantifying the product opportunities. So as they see more leads, they start to say, okay, this is going, we're gonna have more opportunities, and they start to do some work for you. You know, they start to, all of a sudden they will start to do some substitutions, and they will start doing some things, but you have to feed them that data up front to get them like excited about it. So these tools are a big way to do that. So distributors, again, very similar, same topic, but you know, providing them project leads helps them go out to their customers with it and say to their customer, look, we're in a spec, are you bidding this project? And that connects them to new subs, and again, helps quantify that whole product opportunity for them. These tools have helped us activate general contractors. We rep a louver company. And for those that don't know, there's no louver installer out there. Nobody makes a living off of just installing louvers, we found out. So GCs don't know where to go half the time to find someone to install a louver. And then we've got guys that won't install it unless they know about it. So when we feed them the leads, and by the way, we have these 3 subs that we've talked to that would do it, and now we've just connected and built a relationship with the GC, helped the sub, and all based on just having this piece of paper that's showing that this is a job, that this is really going on. It also gives you an opportunity at this point with that GC to say, okay, now let me come in and tell you more about this product at the same time, right? So not only are we in the job, but so it kind of helps connect those relationships. And then activating architects. So how we're using these tools to do that. So we kind of talked about this already, like Dad's example of finding what they're speccing already and knowing, okay, this is a good target. They're doing the types of applications and projects that fit our products. So I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to be able to say, for example, our product works really well with food processing plants, and in this way, and now all of a sudden they're like, yes, I do want to talk to you, or we've been using it in a number of different ways. Product substitutions. So we've also, so what we're also doing is when we see a project that we're not in, then we're going in, we're trying, and it's an early enough stage, we're putting in for substitutions. And even when we don't get them, that's okay, because it's also just, it's an advertisement of our product. But again, we're able to reach out to them in an intentional way. And also we've been using it in a way to say, okay, this person's doing this kind of work, that'd be someone we want to do a lunch and learn with that would want to do it. So it's helping us focus on those aspects. So are most of you doing, a lot of what I said, is that all happening? And do you feel at all overwhelmed sometimes by these tools though and information? That's why back to that information slide, don't go in like this is gospel. Like whatever you're doing, make sure you've got it like where you're being helpful and you're not telling them like this is happening for sure.
Like go to the slide where you have the company and how many projects they've done.
Yeah.
So 2 projects, that's not true.
Correct.
And people working in it, how they change. So there is so much information on these websites, and then for you to say, well, which information can I trust, which can I not trust?
Yep.
That just in itself makes it very overwhelming and takes a lot of time up. So I'd rather have a little short article that I know is correct than 50 pieces of information that I have no idea what's correct.
Yeah. No, I think that's. I think you have to take all these tools with a little bit of a grain of salt and understand that they're getting a lot of us to places a lot farther than we were, but they're not necessarily perfect. Because I will tell you from my past databases was what I used to do. The best database is your database.
Exactly.
Right? It's the database you're maintaining But
That was the experience I had in previous roles, was they would take Dodge, for example, and filter it down with all the parameters your company's searching for, and then spec, non-spec, competition spec, and dump it into a bucket, that funnel I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then they force feed it into Salesforce and say, go get it. And it was a dump of information that would just take you down so many rabbit trails, and then there's somebody measuring that Salesforce engagement. And you're going, whoa, wait a minute.
right, can you tell me how you followed up on all that?
It's not accurate. So
Yes.
that was my point about integrating a sales CRM system with good information. That's your validated information. It's
Yes.
so critical. Because you'll run down so many rabbit trails you never get.
And it's why we're a small company.
Yeah.
And why we kind of move it into our own database, because we're only moving in things we feel are real opportunities.
Real options, yeah.
You know, like not necessarily trusting everything as an opportunity, but
So, and I don't know, I don't know, listening to this from your side, but as an architect, our firm doesn't give any information to these folks when they call us, and they call us for cheap.
okay.
Just because of the nature of our projects, I guess, or maybe it's in general, we don't want projects out on the street. It's not open.
Gotcha.
They
Yeah.
may have already made the contract selected before the project even started.
Okay.
Actually, we don't do public work. I think for public work, we do. For private.
Yeah, the majority of this is definitely public work. And I think the reason it was so helpful to us when we got into it was and it still is when we use it, it's just we didn't know what we were doing at all. You know, we didn't know a lot of people, we didn't know, we had to find something to help us, get it, more relevant. But it's interesting to know, I wonder how many people they are calling that just say no, probably a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Does
A lot.
anybody have a good accurate statistic on what the split is between projects that are in these plan rooms and databases?
Well, in our personal database, we'll put a project in when we hear from our relationships now, right? I would say 10% of our database and projects is also in here. And we're in the Chicagoland market, which has a lot of public and stuff, but 10% might even be high. I mean, we learn about a lot more jobs now that we built through other people than we actually do through this tool. But I mean, like distributors, it's helped a lot with us because they want to, a lot of them want to chase down jobs that are already spec'd. This is a way for us to get them some information, especially in some territories we're not. That for us, like we focus a lot on Chicago, but we cover Central Illinois. We get to Central Illinois, but not the way we're. So this has helped us in the Central Illinois area to be able to, get those distributors some information to keep things going.
A lot of that stuff, all my competition sees the stuff that's on, iSquareFoot and on Dodge and everything else. Something I try to watch is some of the early indicators. Zoning commission meetings, who's looking at building what, who's trying to get approved for this.
That's good.
It takes a little more work sometimes, but it can lead you to things early enough to influence what's going to happen.
To your point, I don't think we see that many early stages stuff in here.
Don't see it very bad. And that would be some of the stuff like Mike was talking about that it's not going to fit that.
When I worked in the advertising world, we always said that, we're still at the cusp of this digital revolution. Think about the industrial revolution was 80 years long, right? And we're about 20 years in. So everybody's still figuring out this whole data situation. And most companies have more data than they don't even know what to do with it. They don't even have any actionable, some people are, would you mind putting information into our CRM tool? And to be honest, I'm like, I would, but what am I actually getting out of it? You know, like, am I just putting it in and it's gonna go into a sea of, you know, you never hear anything back, or am I putting it in and it's gonna give me something back that, and I think we're just still, as a society, not just an industry, trying to figure out how,
I think the lesson I learned, the biggest lesson I learned in this journey, especially with DuPont, I was there 10.5 years, and you had this flood of project information, because IBEC was pretty well specified. I had a sales manager one time tell me, there's not a lack of opportunity. It's a lack of confidence to say no, to kill it. Because you know what? People in management don't want to see you kill anything, right? But if you're in the trenches trying to manage your time and effort and prioritization, you literally have to kill opportunities to say, that was not worth my time, it's the wrong customer, it's the wrong deal, let's go after this, and this. And
that's a great.
that's my priority for, that's the big rocks for
Yes.
the time and talent I have put in the street to go do it and get it done. Right. You just can't do it.
A lot of what we have to do is filter everything that's coming through.
Yeah, to make
Wow.
sure.
But don't be scared to show an opportunity.
Yeah.
That was just
Having a focus, having some focus,
I'm like,
yes.
I didn't know I could do that.
Well, these tools are a perfect example. You go in and now, maybe there's only like one function in this tool that you won't really want to use.
Yeah.
But that can really help you. I do encourage you to keep it simple. Don't try to do it all the right way. But I hope you got a lot out of this, and thanks for the feedback and the questions, because I think these are things that we can add into this presentation, like finding those other sources too. I think is like a really smart idea, you know, and thinking about those other ways that we can add this in.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much. This was good.